Welcome back to eGrocery Insights, where we break down what's really going on in grocery retail. In this episode, Brick Meets Click partner David Bishop dives into the September insights, from Amazon's same-day grocery expansion to how regional grocers can protect profitability and play to their strengths in fresh and prepared foods.
David Bishop, partner at Brick Meets Click, where we focus on understanding how technology enhances the way we shop for groceries. And I'm here today to answer some questions about what's going on with eGrocery. All right, one of the questions we have for this month is, can Amazon's fresh expansion model for a grocery scale profitably, or is it setting an unsustainable benchmark for the rest of the market? Really good question, a lot to dive in there, so let's just take a shot at that. I think the response or question is apt because we did see a huge surge in ship-to-home sales this month, year over year. That's largely due to the introduction and the continued expansion of Amazon's same-day grocery service, which at Brick Meets Click, we classify as ship-to-home, given the attributes associated with that fulfillment model. We also see that this is really a smarter strategy for Amazon to pursue as it fits in and leverages its existing network of fulfillment centers that allows it to deliver perishable products alongside other products that may be non-grocery related. I think it's also interesting to note that their focus is on Prime members who don't necessarily buy fresh foods or utilize its delivery services, which we believe is due primarily to those customers' desire to avoid paying more than necessary, which in this case would take the form of added delivery fees and or tips. The early reads are quite strong from the September results. We're seeing strong gains across the board in all the key metrics. When we look at monthly active users, it is surging year over year. Average order frequency is up by high single digits. And average order values in terms of spending per order is up even more. So we see a very promising outlook from the Amazon perspective here. Obviously, the implication for grocers is even more competition, in this case, for the perimeter, which has historically been a competitive advantage that the regional grocers have had over mass retailers. Now they have another front to battle on relative to Amazon. The remaining question, which seems to be becoming more clear, is just how willing are customers to buy fresh groceries from Amazon. At this point, it seems early on that there is a strong desire to give this a try. Obviously, a lot will depend on the execution, but early reads on that as well has also been very promising for Amazon. Another question that we have for this month's results is, how do regional grocers respond while maintaining profitability of their fulfillment operations? Well, this is a tough one. Delivery is only getting more challenging for regionals as rivals like Walmart and Amazon now are promoting speed while also reducing the fees associated with getting those products faster. And that's only possible given their respective models that they're able to take advantage of that simply and realistically most regionals just don't have. When we look at the business today, over 80% of all delivery orders, for instance, are now being delivered same day, with over half of all of those delivery orders being delivered within 3 hours. It really underscores this push towards speed, but also recognizing some of the response in terms of the demand that we've seen dramatically jump up has been driven by the reduction in the cost. So while most regionals may be able to compete on speed today, that's mainly on their third-party marketplace service where those providers are using their gig workers to enable that cycle time. However, we are starting to see some first-party, albeit they are more national grocers as opposed to regional grocers, who are utilizing those third-party white label distribution services to accelerate cycle times associated with their delivery service. But a key point of difference is they are not able to address the costs associated with using those services in the same way as both Amazon or Walmart, underscoring again the challenge of trying to compete with those two behemoths using the same tactics. So when we look at this question for regional grocers, we go back to what it is that compelled their customers to shop with them in the physical world and see how that translates into the online world of shopping. And what we have to remember is that the primary reason overwhelmingly our customers shop with us if we're a regional grocer is proximity or convenience. It's conveniently located or it's the nearest store to my home. However, the second reason why customers select regional grocers is the quality of the fresh products, and specifically things like produce. And that is where regional grocers had historically and still today, based on our visibility, have an advantage over both Walmart and Amazon. Keeping in mind that while Amazon is making gains with its new same-day fresh grocery service, customers still are learning to trust Amazon's ability to deliver those, while Walmart is still trying to penetrate that part of the wallet for the more affluent households that have shifted to them. So really leading with your fresh products, your prepared foods, your perimeter categories is going to be important in order to create some points of differentiation versus those two players. Otherwise, it's worth remembering that delivery has disintermediated the strongest competitive advantage that regional grocers have historically had versus mass retailers like Walmart in the physical world of shopping, in the sense that delivery now no longer requires that household to drive the extra distance to get those savings. And when you add that on top of the fact that they've now developed programs, mainly through memberships and subscriptions, to remove those additional incremental costs, it's going to push retailers to question what the role of delivery is within their online strategy relative to pickup. As we've talked about before, we understand that delivery has disintermediated or eroded one of the core advantages that regional grocers have historically had in the physical world competing against the likes of Walmart, which is the proximity to the customer. Now that that has essentially lowered the gate over the mode of proximity, then we need to look at how we leverage pickup and other services or focus on other areas to mitigate that. Another question that we received this month is relative to customers. And in this case, the question is, with older shoppers increasing eGrocery adoption, are there untapped demographic opportunities regional grocers should focus on? Oh, this is a tough question. All the age groups, according to the latest results, expanded year over year, but it is true. We saw a surge in the oldest cohort this month for a variety of reasons. It is notable as we go back, or step back, I should say, that this older group is traditionally a laggard relative to all things technology, right? And it's no different when it comes to online. But what we're now seeing is subtle shifts in programs are driving significant changes. And one area that we believe is driving this is the continued integration of more of the in-store services into how people shop online, not just for groceries, but for the other needs that those stores would historically have satisfied. And in this case, what I mean is prescriptions, right? The oldest households, those over 60, are going to be more dependent on, medical and health and wellness issues. And if we look at the moves that Walmart has made more recently this year, tying in pharmacy with not just delivery, but express delivery through its membership program, we're now seeing some synergies that can unlock latent demand that just simply wasn't taken advantage of before because of an important component, in this case, the prescription. Because if we think about that, an older consumer before then would have been making a trip to the store most likely, and thereby, mitigating or reducing the desire or the benefit of using delivery. However, when we combine prescriptions or provide availability to order your groceries and receive your regular prescription, things can change quite quickly. And so that's what we believe or hypothesize is happening. Otherwise, when we look at the income groups, we are seeing a little bit of pressure on the lowest income group that we define as under 50,000 as they've pulled back slightly online year over year while the other income groups have gone up. So I'm not sure there's specifically a specific demographic group that regional grocers should focus on other than looking at where their online service serves their customers relative to the services that those customers use in store, and to try to close those gaps as best as they can, consistent with their ability to execute those consistently. So if you don't have pharmacy, obviously everything that was discussed about that is really a moot point, but it's better understanding where those opportunities are within context of your specific market. Today, this market is more saturated with a broader range of options that can satisfy very specific needs and usage occasions and missions. So it's very hard for us to make any kind of generalized statement in terms of where that is. All right. Another question that we have for this month's results is, are record high average order values a sign of healthier engagement or simply higher prices? Well, the short answer is it's both. We had very impressive results in September. All three methods, ship to home, pickup, and delivery, increased their average order spending year over year. Ship to home is mainly associated with the Amazon expansion of its same-day grocery delivery service, as we mentioned earlier. And that's caused its AOV to jump significantly year over year as customers are adding new items to their baskets that historically they wouldn't have been buying vis-a-vis the ship-to-home model offered by Amazon before. Now, if we looked at pickup and delivery, their relative gains are fairly comparable year over year in terms of the growth that they both posted. And in fact, if we even looked at it at the format level and focused specifically on supermarkets and mass, what we also noticed there is, again, relatively speaking, similar gains for both of those retail formats. And what we believe, based on the numbers, is that's largely due to a shift in the user mix moving towards the more established customer. And when we look at those gains relative to pickup and delivery, those gains are largely due to user mix shifts towards a more established customer, which is simply defined as a customer who's made 4 or more orders with that specific service within the last 3 months. And what we've seen year over year is a steady growth. In fact, not just year over year, over the last several years, we've seen a gradual increase. In September 2025, that number is now north of 55%, which simply means a large percentage or a larger share of our customer base is very established, very familiar, maybe more loyal to us, and therefore we're seeing those higher average orders. And when we look at that, it's worth also pointing out that that 4+ cohort group generally spends 30% more on average compared to those others. And while that's down slightly versus last year, it is again illustrative of how the AOV is increasing year over year as we improve retention and engagement with our existing customers. All right, the final question: is the ongoing growth in eGrocery sales being fueled by renewed memberships or by reactivated and lapsed shoppers returning to online grocery? All right, it's going to be both. We started to first document or observe deep discounts on subscriptions and memberships that really started to kickstart, in our view, this craze or crazy growth in membership and subscriptions back in mid 2024. And at that point, it was primarily focused on 2 players, Instacart and Walmart. And one of the things we saw later in 2024 and continue to this day is more retailers or providers following suit with aggressive discounts on their membership or subscription program with focus on the annual as opposed to the monthly cycle. What we've now had is, in essence, one wave following on top of another wave of ongoing promotions and efforts to lock in customers, for lack of a better term, for a longer period. And what we've seen is this desire to save, or conversely, avoid paying more than necessary, has been a powerful motivation for many households across the income spectrum. And that's been primarily driven by the fact that if we go back 2 years ago to roughly the third quarter of 23, we had peak food at home inflation that was north of 10%. So that metaphorically was the straw that broke the camel's back. And those customers who were appreciating the value associated with shopping online saw almost immediately the benefit of shifting to the subscription or membership because the payback was so quick. And with these deep discounts that started in May of 2024, they were initiated by Instacart and followed quickly by Walmart, really gave people an opportunity to realize those savings at those steep discounts. Now, today, what we're seeing is we're continuing to see a lot of promotional dollars being put in the market that are maybe causing some near-term noise, but are still driving extremely strong customer response. And I'll give you just one example. Most recently, it's a national grocer, it's Kroger. In select markets where they have their centralized fulfillment centers, they are now offering customers the opportunity to save $25 on delivery orders over 35. With that type of deal, getting 25 off on 35 is driving extremely strong responses. So strong that if you were to try to have a delivery in those particular markets today, you would have to wait and get it for tomorrow because today's already filled up. Just really illustrating the type of demand that type of offer is giving. What it also is showing you is just how cash constrained many customers are because of that offer. So again, we have a lot of noise in the form of promotional support that's driving this, but part of that promotional support smartly is angling to capture customers today, lock them in with a annual plan so that not only tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, they continue to use it. They become very familiar, experienced, and accustomed to being engaged customer with that retailer, thereby growing their customer lifetime for that retailer. It's becoming not just more challenging to compete on speed and feed, it's becoming more costly because of the investment required. And it's not as simple as simply throwing more dollars at it for regionals to get this. It's about also focusing the message on the right areas that differentiate you, leading with fresh, as the center store really is under attack, as customers can save significant amounts of money by shifting those packaged good, national branded products to a lower cost provider. All right, so I'll just add one last thing. If anybody would like to chat about the results or what's going on in eGrocery, or understand some of the differences that maybe are less visible to you, like Amazon's same-day grocery service or Walmart's membership, or what regionals are attempting to do, please reach out to me. You can connect with me at david.bishop@brickmeatsclick.com.
Thanks for listening. If you found these insights helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more on the future of grocery. Do you have a question you'd like answered in our next episode? Be sure to email us at solutions@mercatus.com.